Alrighty, everybody. Welcome back to Cool Sports Chat, episode 46. Looks like today we got Bobby and Scott. How are you guys doing
Good.
today?
Good.
Real good, real good.
Now, Scott, real quick, we'll start with you. We had a batch of Christmas movies. Do you want to give your thoughts on those Christmas movies tonight?
You know, what, you know, I like the. I think I told you I really like the Christmas Carol with George C. Scott. In fact, I watched the whole thing last night again. It was really good. Christmas Vacation is always a good one, and I like the Home Alone one as well. So those both make me laugh a whole lot come Christmas time.
Bobby, what about you?
Oh yeah, Home Alone, Christmas Vacation for me. That's my two. Yep.
Yeah, well, I know all those got really high grades when we did ours. Currently in the polls, it looks like Elf is pulling away today. Last night when we recorded, it
Yeah.
was Love Actually was well ahead. So because they're all Christmas classics, and I think everyone knows them, I think we still got some time to see who actually comes out on top because it's going back and forth. Brendan, how are you doing?
Pretty good.
Well, let's get into the elephants of the room. Scott, Brendan, this week was a tough week. You guys both came up close. Scott, we'll start with you. Still a good season. Obviously, you drafted a lot of rookies, so you made it further than maybe people would have thought, but you did really good.
Actually, I really thought that I was going to get an upset over Matthew come being that I was pretty well ahead come Sunday night. But then Monday Monday games came around. I didn't get a chance to watch the Monday games, but from what I've heard, I didn't miss anything. Wasn't that exciting? So in that sense, and then Matthew squeaked me out at the end. So yep, we'll go on. We'll get our plans ready for come next year. See who we can draft. I got a couple of mine, couple ideas rolling around somewhere up here. We're going to see what we come draft time.
Yeah, no, I know even Matt, he was texting last night and he was worried. Even a couple minutes left, he was like, one wrong play for him and Bowers gets the ball, goes 40 yards, it's over. So it was a
Yeah.
very, very close one between you guys. As always, dogs and cats always put on a show. Brendan, you had quite the hole to dig yourself out of come Monday night. You did have Jefferson and Hawkinson, so the opportunity was there. How did you feel going into Monday night?
I kind of thought my day was done after CD Lamb's game. So after some of my other players didn't put up anything, I kind of figured I was going to be out for the week. Like you said, I did have TJ and Justin, so I knew that there was a very slim shot because I've had both of those players score 20 points in the same game before. So me being down 40, it was very possible. But, I told you a few weeks ago, I kind of cursed out the fantasy football gods. And so I knew that I wasn't going to be long in the playoffs.
See, that's why you never curse out. You always say, I'm going to do really bad, and then you'll do good. That's what we've learned. I will say, I think it's like the first time in 4 or 5 years you're not in the division or in the conference championship. So, hey, if that says anything, you've been doing really good. So, no shame in that. Also, Graceland's just been putting on clinics week after week. The two highest scoring teams this week or last week are going to play this week because Birmingham Bats won. They beat up on poor Shane's Cows. But my dad, after not putting up 100 points, put up 150 or 160 or something like that.
Oh,
in the playoffs. When it counts, the bats come through, apparently.
oh,
Uh, so, yeah, he'll be
Yeah.
facing off against Blueberry Bulldogs, Grayson. Right now, it's 140 to 125 in favor of Grayson. So currently, Fantasy Football app has the 5th seed advancing. And the other one, I squeaked out a win. Mainly, I really thought I was going to lose to David because I thought Darnold was going to put up like 40 points
yeah.
and I would lose. But he didn't, so I squeaked out that win. And then Matt squeaked out the win against Scott. And me and him also very evenly matched. And currently, again, it's swaying towards Matt. So it is saying a 2 versus 5 matchup for the championship. And I had to bench Lamar because he's playing Pittsburgh. And I know what Pittsburgh does to Baltimore every time. So I was like, it's up to you, Caleb. You're our only hope. And they're playing Detroit, and we'll get to them. Detroit is in a bad spot. They lost another 4 players to injury, major players again. I mean, they went from Super Bowl contender to maybe they'll win a game in the playoffs pretty quickly. So let me get over there.
I had a sucky record this year.
Oh, you're growing, Bobby. You just gotta be patient,
Uh-huh.
Next year you just gotta start scouting now and then go forward.
Yeah, going to be coming out of college.
Yeah. All right, so let's kick off last week. There was some duds and a lot of playoff or primetime duds
Yeah.
as far as games go. Starting with Thursday, which was a grand finale of nothing more than 7 points. It's 12-6. So, a touchdown could have swung that game either way. Did any of you guys watch this pretty lackluster matchup? Hey, it's okay. Not mentioning much.
Yeah. Really not a whole lot you can say about that. So.
Outside the 49ers kind of snake bit this year, something we've seen with Super Bowl losers. They usually kind of have like the Super Bowl hangover, as well as, McCaffrey was on 2 different versions of a Madden cover. So I'm sure that, plays into it because we know what happens with the Madden cover. Let's see. Sunday, we see Kansas City beating Cleveland 21-7. The big news out of this one, outside of the victory, is Mahomes hurt, but I guess it helps you have a former starting quarterback, Carson Wentz, who came in, looked pretty good. They've already wrapped the division, and they're closing in on wrapping the conference's number 1 seed. Scott, do you think they rest Mahomes from here on out?
Yeah. Well, I think especially this next game. They can put in Wentz for this next game. See how it goes. From what I have read, it's a mid-high ankle sprain. I don't know if it keeps going up and down the leg is how they determine that or whatever. So mid-high, you always hear that the high ankle sprain is the worst. So I guess it's not quite as bad as the high ankle sprain. It's kind of hard to tell. But I would definitely say if I was a betting man, I would say that Mahomes
done for the season
would sit. Well, I'm going to say he's going to sit this game, and then maybe the next. Because, like you say, if they already got the number 1 seed, there's no reason to play them anyway until come the playoffs. So definitely this game, and then we'll see about the next one.
Brendan, how's the waters in Kansas? Are people worried about the Mahomes injury?
I have no clue. I haven't talked to anyone about it.
Brendan, you're supposed to be our on-the-ground reporter.
I think we can still take them.
Bobby, you can't take them. They've already won the division.
all of the cows I've been playing with recently doesn't surprise me now that I'm going against the cows.
Yeah, that's one thing about the fantasy league, and we can look at it after we look at it here. But the everyone else is playing still this week because Scott, you're playing David, right? Yeah, the
Yeah.
Cryptic Critters. Yep. Yeah, it's kind of fun. So I think Bobby's back in it this week, able to play again.
The only people that aren't are Mark and Blake.
They're like they've already clinched whatever.
Yeah.
Limited.
Yeah. Also,
This week or
you're just playing in the constellation bracket. Also, Jameis Winston, after making the Denver defense look silly, got benched, and he's benched this week. Dorian Thompson-Robinson will be playing for Cleveland this week. And, it's going to be a hard pill to swallow financially, but I think they got to draft a quarterback, depending where they are. It's not a very deep quarterback class this year, so if they can't get one of the top 2, maybe 3, I would just run it again. Try to get someone in for agency.
Yeah.
Cincinnati got the job done, but they still gave up 27 points to Tennessee. So something's got to be addressed there next year with their defense, because obviously they ain't making the playoffs this year, and their defense just looks bad. Washington almost lost. They were up big. And then the Saints made the quarterback switch. We all were saying they should have been playing anyway. Put in Spencer Rattler, who's the better choice. He brought them back, and instead of going for the field goal, they went for 2, didn't get it. So instead of going to overtime, they lost. But at that point, your season's over. You might as well try to win it,
Well, there was controversy about that too, because the play clock stopped when it shouldn't have, and the game actually should have ended before the Saints even got the touchdown. So,
well, the play clock we see is not always correct. They always show there's been lots of times where we see like the TV play clock and then the stadium one, and it's off by a second or 2. So sometimes it's hard, because I've seen a lot lately where it's just like, oh, they gave it to them, and then they're like, well, actually, they had a second. But Spencer Rattler looked good. He came back, brought the team back from nothing, with no like offense at all, no weapons. Let's see. Baltimore murdered the Giants. I know last week we had somebody ask the question which defense should go for, and we said go for Baltimore because they're going to murder the Giants, and they did.
And they did. Yeah.
Dallas kicked Carolina's butt. Carolina's been looking pretty good lately and just didn't show up this week, apparently.
Yeah, really talk about Carolina, I remember a few weeks ago we were talking about we weren't sure who was steering the ship, and they kind of figured things out here come the last few weeks. So got to give them props for not just packing it up and moving on. So that's good.
Yeah, I will say Bryce Young did some repair to his image. A lot of people were writing him off, but I think the last couple of weeks he's played really good. He's outplayed CJ Stroud. So I think he's given himself opportunity to come back next year. It'd be really kind of unheard of, I think, for a team to give up on their number 1 draft pick without controversy within 2 years,
Yeah.
Hey, Aaron Rodgers got a victory this week, barely. He did play Mac Jones, but 32-25. Got the job done. I think Devontae had 2 touchdowns. So kind of some old school magic. Had what? 198?
yeah. Sitting on Grayson's bench.
Brendan, that was good for you.
I know, but Devontae Smith was sitting on my bench.
Yeah, this is the hard part. When you get too many, you start questioning, and then I always get one that pops off on my bench, and I'm just like, Houston, after being a garbage fire, were able to at least outlast Miami. Miami just didn't look very good this game. Just nothing good to go there. Denver, Indianapolis. Scott, did you watch this one?
Yeah, that trick play, they tried putting
Yeah.
Benito intercepted him.
Yeah, no, I didn't really get to watch too much of it, but yeah, kind of like Bobby was saying, there's a couple big plays. Just
Yep.
kind of we try. Colts try and always trying something, but
Benito goes, yeah.
just doesn't work out. Doesn't work. So typical Colts.
So my thoughts, I watched this one and I got to watch Anthony Richardson a little bit more than I have been all year. And he didn't look bad at all this game. He looked pretty on target to a lot of his passes. His receivers looked terrible. They'd get passes straight to him and drop them.
Who was the one guy that dropped about the 1 yard line?
Yeah, see, that changed the whole game. That would have made it like 20-7 Indianapolis. Yep. And then if that happens, Indy is walking away with the victory. So Jonathan Taylor, and again, there's been conversation. Ain't no one tackling him. At some point, you got to be like, he's going in. Just let him. Just let it count.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought Anthony Richardson looked good. I think if anything, Colts can get a couple good receivers, that offense can click. They got a good young defense. Let it build up. I think they got something to build off of. So,
yep.
And they're in a division. I think they could easily come back and win. Buffalo beat Detroit. They beat up on Detroit. At the end of the game, it looked a lot closer because it was 48-42. But for a while, it was 30-plus points to Buffalo.
Yeah.
And Detroit, we mentioned earlier, have 4 major injuries, 2 to corners, I think 1 to a linebacker, and then 1 to David Montgomery, who's been kind of one of their hearts of their offense too. So that's going to hurt in the long run.
Yeah. Heard Montgomery's gone now for the year, I think, is last I heard. So at least they have Gibbs that could kind of fill that spot as compared to some places that just doesn't have anybody to fill the person that they lose. Other than, say, some of the other injuries, maybe the Lions aren't necessarily going to be as bad as we're kind of thinking right now. We'll have to see how that goes. But, yeah, at least they got Gibbs in the backfield to help them carry that on.
Yeah, they're lucky they got that 1-2 punch in the backfield. I don't know who their third string is because they've been rotating, so we'll have to see. It'll be interesting to see how he fits into the scheme. Luckily, no injuries to like receivers or anything. And Goff still playing really well. I think he had 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. So they just, had they come out and played in the first 2 quarters, they probably could have won that game. But sometimes it is what it is. Brendan, you guys up next, beating Pittsburgh. And right now, Philadelphia tied for first. They are in the second spot currently if playoffs were to start. But how are you feeling?
Pretty good, actually. It was a lot better of a win than I thought it was going to be. Even with Pittsburgh haven't winning in Philadelphia since like 1966, I think they said. I still thought that defense is a really good defense, and it was going to be a lot harder. I did like how Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown pretty much said F you to everybody, and they threw it through they did it by throwing. They didn't run Saquon as much. Even though I am voting for Saquon to beat the record, so it kind of sucks now because he needs to average well over 125 yards for the last 3 games, which are all division games, so he could do it. But yeah, I did think it was a little easier of a win. It does kind of suck that we pretty much need Detroit and Minnesota to each lose one more game, and for us to win out for us to get the number 1 seed. So
Well, if Saquon would have gotten that, then I probably would have gotten over Matthew for the for our league. So yeah, needed Saquon to we needed Saquon to break that record this past. I needed Saquon to break that
you
record.
rush for 500 yards in a game.
Yeah, he needed 500 yards. I needed him to have 500 yards in that game.
That would have broken a lot of records.
Yeah, that would broke a ton. Let's see. Who's next? New England, Arizona. Scott, did you get the opportunity to watch this? And I saw McBride is leading in yards, but Harrison is leading in touchdowns. So Murray is spreading out the ball.
poor old McBride just can't get into the end zone. He catches the ball everywhere else but the end zone, and it's only just because Harrison's got more touchdowns than McBride, just because Harrison has caught at least 2, and McBride unfortunately has none. But McBride is still that go-to receiver for Murray right now, and Murray is trying to get Harrison involved. You got to give him credit for that. It's just not quite working out for Harrison. I think there's a few times that Harrison will go down, but he's yet to start coming back to the ball to be able to get the reception. As soon as he figures out that it's got to go down and come back, then Harrison will really pick up. But otherwise, it's great for McBride. I have McBride in a number of my other leagues, so that's good. But yeah, the Murray McBride pairing up has been really strong for the Cardinals this year.
Isn't he on pace to be like only the 4th player ever to have like 80 plus receptions and 0 touchdowns?
I've heard that. I have heard that total come up. So I know that it's gotten to the point where the Cardinals, you can tell the Cardinals are really, really trying to get him at least one. So whether the other defense kind of keys up on that fact, you have to kind of wait and see. But there was a couple of times watching that game with the New England where it got really close, and you could tell Murray was the first one to run over to McBride, and it said, "I was trying to get you the ball." You can kind of just tell I'm really trying. Just haven't gotten it yet. So.
Yeah, and then a kind of surprise matchup, or surprise victory, I should say. Tampa Bay murdered the Chargers. Not even close.
Oh God, 40-7.
Yeah, 40-17. Just an absolute shellacking, and good for Tampa Bay, who needed the win to stay ahead in their division. And maybe this wakes up the Chargers a little bit, or maybe it gives teams a blueprint on how to beat them. Sunday night, we saw Green Bay beat up on Seattle. Seattle did lose Geno Smith in, I think it was early 3rd. And after they lost him, they had a total of a net negative 5 yards after Geno went down. The offense looked bad. And obviously, once the offense isn't doing anything but 3 and outs every single time, defense wears down, and Green Bay was really able to do whatever they needed. So good on them. They wore their whiteout jerseys. Still kind of weird to see Green Bay without a yellow helmet, but
yeah. Nah, they got to stick back to their colors. Yeah, the whole whiteout uniforms. Nah, that it definitely needs some color.
Yeah. Well, speaking of whiteouts, on Monday night we got to see the whiteout Minnesota Viking jerseys as they kind of beat up on Minnesota, or they beat up on Chicago. Caleb, I don't know. I think he's going to get sacked 100 times. Not really. I think he's going to get sacked like 75 or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
He's gotten sacked more than any Bears quarterback in history, but he might break the record for most passing yards by a Bear quarterback. So I don't know, maybe a sort of bright spot. I don't think, even if they had Justin Fields, I don't think they'd be doing any better because obviously Caleb's outperformed him, but just that offense, there's no time, and
They just don't have the line. If
mm-mm.
you don't have a line, there's no way that any quarterback's going to be able to do anything without that line. So I'm pretty sure we can put our money on the first two picks for the Bears this coming draft. It's going to be lineman.
Yeah, I know they have one decent starter. I think he's like right tackle or right guard. And then everyone else can just get rid of. Just get all new players. Texas has a big offensive lineman coming into the draft, so he would be a good fill-in there. And I know there's another kind of big name, but yeah, the Bears desperate need of an offensive line. And I don't know. Do they need more receiver help, tight end help, maybe a second running back? I don't know. Some more defense, obviously. And then Atlanta got the job done. I don't know if Atlanta can feel good. And honestly, Kirk Cousins looks like he's regressing again another week. And
Hey, I just saw the notification came on my phone as we were going that Michael Penix is going to get the start this coming Sunday. So we'll see the former Indiana University Washington quarterback, see what he can do on the pro ranks. That'll be interesting.
hey, if anything, I feel like he'll give them some sort of life. Because Kirk this year, I mean, his arm's okay, but he just can't move around in the pocket, and I think that's where he gets in trouble because he needs to create a little bit more time, and defenses just like kind of close that lineup on him, and he can't do anything. So I think, they had to go to Penix at some point because it was rough. They still have the opportunity to get into the playoffs as a long shot. We'll look at that in a minute.
No, they pretty much have to win the division.
Yeah. Yeah, but they only have to beat
They
Tampa Bay. We'll look at the playoff race in a second. Let's look at the other playoff race that is starting. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
I just got to. All right, Brennan, how do I do it again? Oh, there we go. Share screen. You'd think I would know after doing this for a while.
I was like, you're asking me?
All right, so here's the college football bracket. We see it kick off this weekend. Let's look at this first game. Texas, number 5 Texas, hosting number 12 Clemson. Scott, what's your thoughts on that one?
Well, especially come playoff time, Clemson seems to be really, really strong. Playing Texas at Texas, I can see the Longhorns pulling that one out. I would go with Texas on that one.
Yeah, Brendan, what about you?
Well, definitely Texas. I mean, I haven't watched a whole lot of Clemson football, so I don't actually know a whole lot how well they're actually doing this year. But Texas is my main college, so I have to roll with them.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good matchup. I think we got a lot of good matchups on the docket here. And of course, the winner of this one goes on to face Arizona State next week or week after, 2 weeks after in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
Yep.
Yeah, Sun Dogs have been playing really, really good the last couple of weeks. I've gotten a chance to watch them. Their running back, Shadaboo, that guy's a tank. it's going to be fun to watch him, especially watch him come running the next level. We'll see how that is.
What are you going to do, Scott, if Arizona and Indiana end up meeting in that championship game up there?
Got to stick with the pride of the cream and crimson, but that'll still be a good game. I'll make sure that some of my the Arizona swag that I might have picked up along the way gets kind of put away and put in a place that nobody else can see it. That's for sure.
And then let's see, we got Tennessee going to.
Actually, I wanted to go to Arizona State. When I was thinking about colleges, Arizona State was my other choice. So, yeah, it is close. Anyway, going back.
Yeah, and then we got Tennessee going into Ohio State. Should be another one. I think Tennessee, not a lot of national attention this year. And Ohio State is Ohio State, so they always got lots of attention there. Whoever wins that one goes into Oregon. Scott, who do you think gets the job done in that game?
I'll tell you what, Ohio State, especially at home,
Ohio State's
really
got it
tough.
going.
Yeah, that crowd really cheers up a storm. It's tough to do anything at Ohio State.
Brendan, what about you? How do you feel about that one?
To be honest with you,
I want Tennessee to win, but I do think Ohio State is probably the better team and probably will pull off the victory.
Well, on the other side of the bracket, we got number 11 SMU, who kind of stayed in somehow, even after they lost, going against Penn State. So we got 6 and 11. Scott, do you think Penn State just kind of dominates that matchup and faces off with Boise State?
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking throughout looking and reading up on things. It's going to be Penn State pretty much easily, I think.
Brendan, what about you?
I don't know about easily. I do think Penn State will win, but SMU's only loss is in their conference championship game. So I don't think it'll be. I don't know. We've seen, Big 12 teams go up against SEC teams before, or Big 10 teams before, and just get annihilated. So it's possible, but I do think SMU will put up a little more of a fight than some are thinking.
Well, and in the last one, the winner of this one gets to go face off against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. Sans Carson Beck, who's going to be out for the year. But in the Indiana Bowl, we got number 10 Indiana, not going too far to Notre Dame. Scott, how are you feeling here?
Actually, I'm feeling pretty good about this game, really. Indiana graduate, as I wear my Indiana, wear some of my Indiana swag nice and proudly today. I tell you what, I think the Indiana's loss to Ohio State at Ohio State earlier this year, I think that's going to be a key factor for Indiana moving through this game. Having lost in a very hostile environment will be key for Kurt Signetti to work on and to incorporate the improvements there. At the same time, let's see, Notre Dame South Bend is only 3 hours up the road from Bloomington, Indiana. So there's going to be a lot of red in the stand if the people wearing red can't afford the $2,000 per ticket prices that has been announced that that Notre Dame was going to allow for Indiana fans to have. If they can put forth $2,000 apiece, then there'll be a crowd. But otherwise, like I said, either way, I think Indiana is going to beat out the 7.5 point deficit they're supposedly not have to get past in order to win this game. I think I really do like Indiana for this game, not necessarily just because I'm an IU grad. I do think Indiana's going to be tough.
Yeah, I think this is another one of those contenders for game of the week. Honestly, I think most of them. I mean, SMU maybe is the weakest of the four, but I think we're on docket to have some really fun games. Brendan, what are your thoughts with this Friday game? It looks like.
Oh yeah, I think they're going to all be good games. I haven't really watched a whole lot of Indiana and Notre Dame games, so I don't know what to expect. I did watch one person that were like, someone should check in on the state of Indiana because it might be ripped in half because of this game. But so
Yeah,
I mean, it's South Bend. You're fine if that goes away. No, Notre Dame. It's a fun little college to walk around, if anything, to see touchdown Jesus, right? But also this week we got another week of NFL matchup. Bobby, you guys kick off on Thursday night versus the Chargers. What are you thinking with this one?
We're going to win that game. I think we're going to beat San Diego. I think San Diego's going to be out.
I mean, we'll find out because look, we got the playoff predictor here, so now we can figure out what's going on. Scott, what are your thoughts?
The Chargers are kind of and they're another one of those teams that I'm not exactly sure really what we're going to really see a lot of times. So I think the Broncos have been fairly more quote unquote stable. So long as Knicks plays a good game, it's going to be. I think Knicks is the key.
Brendan, what about you?
I think we can say Denver. I think last week we gave it to the Chargers and we essentially knocked out Denver from the playoffs.
Well, look at that. Denver just hopped Baltimore. Yeah, that's what's kind of fun about doing these little playoff matches as the season goes on. Okay, next matchup, we got the Texans not looking too hot. Going against the Chiefs, who probably will be without Patrick Mahomes. Scott, what are you thinking in this one?
You know what? I would still take the Chiefs, especially at home. Wentz kind of has this habit of jumping in, filling in, running the team really well all the way up to the Super Bowl. But then he can't necessarily run it all the way if he's number one. So long as Wentz is the number two, then the Chiefs. So long as Wentz is playing the backup, the Chiefs are moving forward. That's how it's going to be.
Yeah, I've seen lots of memes lately that shows Carson Wentz, and they're like, hey, he can do the most Nick Foles thing possible in this this round. Bobby, what are your thoughts?
I see Kansas City losing. I do.
Ooh, okay.
And there's a guy that's predicting right now. We go to Pittsburgh, knock Pittsburgh out. Go to Buffalo, knock Buffalo out, and then it'll be us and Detroit in the Super Bowl.
All right, Bobby's picking that. We'll find out. Brennan, what are you thinking?
I'd like to say Houston would win this weekend just because I don't know how Carson will throw or run that offense. give them since it's a short week. They do play on Saturday. I think Houston could win.
All right. Well, I was going to say Kansas City, so you know what that means. Big old tie. See, it allows that. All right. Well, Scott, for the division currently, we got Baltimore at home versus Pittsburgh. What are your thoughts?
I tell you what, Baltimore's played really well the last few weeks. Pittsburgh is up until this past week they were doing well, but Baltimore's been a freight train running, and I don't think I want to get in the way of that. So Baltimore is going to get through Pittsburgh, no problem.
Bobby?
I think Baltimore is going to beat Pittsburgh. Baltimore's a high-flying team. Once Baltimore starts throwing the ball, they're unstoppable.
Yeah.
All right, Brendan, am I hitting the button? Are you going to make me hit it?
Yeah, you can hit it.
All right, so when I hit it, let's see where that moves all the teams. Whoa, nothing. Pittsburgh's still apparently in first place.
It flipped Denver and Baltimore back.
Yeah. But I was wondering if it'd flip Pittsburgh down, but did not. Next matchup, we got Rams going to the Jets, Scott.
Actually, I'd kind of go with the Rams, actually, this game. The Jets have been doing okay, but I think I'd still kind of lean more toward the Rams, at least in this contest.
Bobby, what about you?
I see the Rams beating the Jets.
All right, Brendan, am I hitting it?
I mean, you can. I'm going to still say the Jets, though. They're both hot and cold teams, and let's help Seattle a little.
Yeah.
Whoa, I do like that. Which means, unfortunately, tie.
Hey,
Hey.
put Seattle back.
Put Seattle back. It's okay. Seattle's going to lose, so. Let's see. Philadelphia at Washington, Brendan. What are your thoughts?
Philly wins and wins the division.
Okay. Scott.
Yep, I agree. I think Philly, especially after this past weekend, they're going to turn around and be pretty tough to handle. So I would definitely go with Philadelphia this week.
Bobby.
Philadelphia.
Okay, let's see. Oh, Brendan, look at that. Number 1 seed, Philadelphia Eagles.
For 2 minutes.
And the Lions are a little bit. Hey, I think there could be an upset in that game. Scott, Penix versus, I think, DeVito. Who do you got?
Oh, well, I'm going to go with Penix. Just because, as you're saying, he can at least move around than Cousins could do. So I think we'll go with Atlanta for this game. That's for sure.
Bobby, what about you?
I'm going to Atlanta too. The Giants suck.
All right, Brennan, you picking an upset or are you going to Atlanta?
Oh, no, I'll go Atlanta. But I do think the DeVito is not the starting quarterback. I think they are on their 4th quarterback because DeVito has, I think, a shoulder injury, and Drew Lock was in a walking boot. So they are down to their 4th quarterback.
Whew, they're getting ready for Sanders there. It's between them or the Raiders. Hey, Quinn Ewers might be a Giant. We'll find out. Scott, Cardinals, Panthers.
Oh boy, I'm going to go with the Cardinals on this one. Hopefully they can kind of keep run. Cardinals usually have a hard time playing on the road, but I think I'm going to keep with the Cardinals. Really hope that McBride gets in the end zone sometime this game. We'll see.
Let's see, Bobby.
Arizona.
All right, Brendan.
Arizona.
All right, look at that. I haven't even had a. Fortunately, when I've had a pick, I pick ties. Uh, let's see. Browns at the Bengals, Scott.
You know, I was normally kind of thinking going with the Bengals, but with having to do with keep going changes with the quarterback and Cleveland, I'm gonna stick with the lineup that is at least in there every single week with Burrow and Chase and Higgins. Uh, Definitely go with the Bengals against the Browns.
Bobby, what about you?
I'm going Cleveland. So if Cincinnati loses, that puts Denver into the playoffs too.
All right, Brendan.
Cleveland.
Really?
I mean, I was Cincy. Sorry, I was talking. I don't know what I was thinking. I think Cincinnati will win.
I was gonna be like, man, I'm gonna have to hit another tie. Scott, Indianapolis hosting Tennessee.
Well, I'm going to go with the Colts on this one because they are at home. You know, as you were saying, Richardson looked pretty halfway decent this past weekend. So if he can continue that, especially at home, then it's going to easily be the Colts.
Bobby.
I think I'm going with Tennessee after what I saw from Indianapolis.
All right, Brendan.
I think Indianapolis. Mason Rudolph is going to start. They have benched Will Levis, but I think Indy will still pull it off.
Yeah, no, I go Indy as well. I think Tennessee's just not very good. Chicago at home versus the Lions. They almost beat them on Thanksgiving, and I think, given the injuries, given kind of the week they're having, I'm going to pick Chicago. Scott.
No, I'm going to kick with the I'm going to kick with the Lions. As much as I grew up a Bears fan. I hate to say that it's going to be Detroit, especially playing at Soldiers Field. But yeah, no, I'll go with Goff and Laporta. If anything, to and Gibbs running the ball. Definitely, I'll stick with Detroit on this one.
Bobby.
I'm going Detroit too.
All right, Brendan, it's up to you to tie it or give it to Detroit.
I'll tie it. I need Detroit to lose.
Whoa, that gives Minnesota the second seed. Speaking of Minnesota, yeah, they're going to beat Seattle, especially if Geno's not in the lineup. That offense looked terrible. So I'd say Minnesota. Scott?
Yeah, for the exact same reasons, I'll go with Minnesota.
Bobby?
Minnesota.
All right, Brendan.
I guess I'll say Minnesota.
All right, look at that. And didn't even hurt you. Look, they're still... let's see. Buffalo Bills hosting the Patriots, Scott.
Oh, I think Buffalo's just gonna kind of run over them. Kind of like what they've been doing. They're putting up points like defenses aren't even there. So I'll definitely go with Buffalo, especially and they're at home. You never know if there's going to be 5 feet of snow or not. We'll see. Either way, it's going to be Buffalo.
Bobby?
Buffalo. Buffalo's going to run over New England.
Brendan?
I agree. Buffalo will pretty easily take care of that one.
All right. Oh, here's a fun matchup. The Raiders hosting the Jaguars. Scott, who do you got?
Oh boy! Actually, I'm going to go with the Jags. this game. I think especially they still got ATN going, um, and I think even though what Engram is down at tight end, I think they're bringing up their other tight end Strange, and from what I've been reading about him, he could easily take over the tight end spot for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Jags here again, especially against the Raiders.
Bobby?
Let's see. I'm going with Jacksonville. I can't stand the Raiders.
Brendan?
I do think that the Raiders are trying to lose on purpose and kind of tank, so we will say Jacksonville.
Yep.
Let's see. Next up, we got Miami hosting the 49ers. Scott, who you got?
Yeah, it really kind of surprised me this past week that Tua just that Miami just played so poorly with Tua in control. Thinking back throughout the season, Miami was doing great. Tua went down with concussion or another injury for a couple weeks, and the offense did nothing. And then he came back. The offense was rolling again, but then came last weekend, and Miami couldn't really do anything. So, but I'm just going to go with Miami, especially since they're at home. But really, that's the only reason.
Bobby?
I'm going San Francisco.
All right. Brendan?
Let's go San Francisco. Keep the West so interesting.
Gives them another tie. All right. Dallas hosting the Buccaneers. Scott, who you got?
Oh, well, really, the Tampa Bay has been really playing pretty halfway decent, and the Cowboys is still not sure who's going to show up there. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers on this game.
Bobby?
Dallas.
All right. Brendan?
Bucks.
Yeah, I'm going Bucks as well. Let's see. Saints at Green Bay. If they start Spencer Rattler, they'd be a better team. I don't know who they're starting, though. Scott?
Really Love has been doing pretty well running the show there at Green Bay. They can definitely use maybe another receiver to go along with them, but I think Green Bay will be very good, so long as they're actually wearing green. Green Bay needs to wear green. So definitely going Packers.
Bobby?
Green Bay.
Brendan?
Green Bay.
All right, look at that. All right, so week 17. How about that? Pittsburgh hosting Kansas City. Bobby, this is a tough one for you. You got both Pittsburgh and Kansas City.
Oh, God, man. No, Pittsburgh.
All right. Pittsburgh. Scott, what about you?
Well, again, it's as I was kind of saying earlier. Is Mahomes going to be out for 2 weeks or just one? I would like to say a definite, but if Mahomes is playing, then I'm going to go with Kansas City. If Mahomes is sitting, then I'm going with Pittsburgh. So I guess I really have to say something, don't I? Okay, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh.
Okay. Brendan.
Pittsburgh.
All right, look, I don't even have to pick. Let's see. Baltimore at the Texans, Scott.
Well, you know what? As I was saying, Baltimore's on a run. Uh,
Yep.
I'm going with Baltimore. Right now, the way things are going, I'm going to take Baltimore all the way through, uh, just because they're peaking exactly at the right time. I'm going Baltimore.
Bobby.
Baltimore. They're on the
Oh.
run. Oh.
Brendan.
I think I choose Baltimore, but I do think that Houston, they care because I'm not going to say no team doesn't care, but Houston is pretty much locked in the 4th seed. I don't see them moving up, and they've already clinched the division, so they can't go down. So I think they're stuck in that 4th seed because the other 3 teams are better than them, or 4 if you want to include Baltimore.
I mean, you could probably include Denver. Probably any other team in the.
Yeah, but
All right, so we got Seattle going to Chicago. And again, if Gino's out with a knee injury, no way Seattle can pull that off. I mean, that was tough. So I'll say Chicago. Scott.
Yeah, I'm going to go Chicago against the Seahawks.
Bobby.
I'm going Chicago too.
Brandon, what are you saying?
I'll say Chicago.
All right, look at that. Okay, Bobby. Patriots, Chargers.
New England over San Diego.
Scott.
Yeah, you know what? Really, May. Excuse me. May hasn't really been playing that bad. Even the second half against the Cardinals, he really picked up pretty well. So I'm going to go with Patriots against Chargers on this one.
All right, Brendan.
I mean, San Diego is the better team. I'll choose San Diego. I mean, LA.
Whoa, Brandon. Just to throw a little chaos into our next matchup, let's give it to the Patriots because I think that means the Bengals are still alive and they're at home playing against Denver. Scott, who do you think wins that one?
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of think that a lot of times when I'm really unsure about exactly which way to go, I kind of go with the home field advantage. So I'm going to go with the home. I'm going to go with the home team. That's it's kind of a lousy determination, but yeah, I'm going to go with the home team.
All right, Bobby.
We're going to beat Cincinnati. So our defense gets going like we were down. Our defense got going in the second half. We were pretty much, the team to beat.
All right, Brendan.
Let's say Cincinnati.
All right, I want to give it to Cincinnati just to say. Oh, it didn't. So that means Week 18's the defending. Arizona Rams, Scott.
Arizona playing on the road is really a crapshoot. I think definitely Rams being at home is going to be able to handle the Cardinals.
Bobby.
I'm going with the Rams too.
Brendan.
I want to go with Cardinals just to keep it interesting in the West.
I'll give it to the Rams. I don't know. I think Cardinals can win it. You know what? Let's give them a second tie. All right. just for the hell of it. All right. Jets at Buffalo, Scott.
Jets at Buffalo. Um, I've really been liking what I've been seeing out of the Bills. Uh, they seem to have been running really well. They're healthy. So definitely going with the Bills.
Bobby.
Buffalo beating the Jets. Buffalo's too good.
Brendan.
Buffalo.
All right. Oh, another fun matchup. We got the Jaguars hosting the Tennessee Titans, Scott.
Oh boy. Yeah, well, I'm going to go with the Jags. See if they can pull, because we said they're going to win this coming week. Let's see if they could pull off two weeks in a row. So, yeah, let's go Jags.
Bobby.
Jacksonville over Tennessee.
Brendan.
I'm actually going Tennessee.
You know what that means, handy. No, I'm picking Jacksonville as well. Who knows? They might be on another quarterback as well that week. Carolina at Tampa Bay, Scott.
Oh, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's been they've been on a run, kind of up and down, but they're rolling at least a little bit better. I'm definitely going to go with Tampa Bay.
Bobby.
Tampa Bay.
Brendan.
I really like ruining people's days, so I want to go Carolina.
Oh, Brendan. All right, here's one that could
just runaways.
Hey, sometimes we got those matchups that are runaways. This one I think could go either way. It's Minnesota hosting Green Bay. Maybe they'll both be wide out in the snow. We won't be able to see either of them. Scott.
I'll take Minnesota. Well, it could be snowing, but Minnesota's got that nice domed stadium. It
Oh,
would
that's
still
right.
be,
Yeah.
they still got that glass top stadium. So, but good thought though. I mean, that would really be interesting. Here's the white cow in the snowstorm. I'm going to go with Minnesota for this game.
All right, Bobby.
Minnesota.
Brandon.
As an Eagles fan, I think I need to go Green Bay so we keep the 1 seed.
It's okay. You got Dallas. You'll be fine. Oh, look at that. It's okay. You'll be back in it, Brendan. Don't. You play Dallas. Raiders, Saints, Scott.
Oh, two kind of teams that really vying for that number one spot, I think. I'll go with Saints again because
Bobby.
Saints over the Raiders. I can't stand the Raiders.
All right, Brendan.
Saints.
Clean sweep there. Scott, your Colts going to the Giants. What do you think there?
well, again, kind of the Giants are kind of yeah. But I'm going with Bob. The Giants really stink. So Colts can't be that bad, can they? I'm going to go Colts.
Bobby.
Indianapolis.
Brendan.
Indy.
Oh, and look what that did. Look who jumped into the 7th spot, Indianapolis. Let's see, Miami going to Cleveland, Scott.
So long as again we're talking Cleveland, just like Buffalo, you could have 7 feet worth of snow without much problem. Even still, I'm going to go with Miami. Hopefully, Tua plays a whole lot better. come in 2 weeks. So I'll go Miami.
Bobby.
Miami.
Brendan.
Yeah, Miami.
Brendan, are you picking Dallas against your Eagles?
Of course.
Scott.
Eagles. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not really sure what's going on with the Cowboys. So, yeah, Eagles. Eagles. Easy.
Let's see, Bobby.
Philadelphia will beat Dallas.
Whoa, somehow that did not put Philly back in it. Brendan.
I told you. Vikings need to lose a game, and so does Detroit for us to get the 1 seed.
Hey, it's okay. You guys are up 2 games on Detroit right now. So, Falcons, Commanders, Scott.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Battle of rookie quarterbacks.
Exactly right. That's what I was just thinking. So, but I'm going to go Commanders, Washington, with the two of them.
Bobby.
I'm going to Washington too.
Brendan.
Atlanta. Can't root for Washington. They're in my division.
There we go. Look at that. We got a tie. Lions.
First time in NFL history, we have 10 ties in a year.
Well, in the last 2 weeks. Lions at 49ers. Scott.
Yeah, I still like the Lions, even with some of the other injuries that they got going on. I think there's a good enough backup with the Lions. So, and I also like their coaching. So definitely going to go Lions.
Bobby.
Oh God, I gotta go San Francisco. Because they're at home.
Brandon, what are you doing?
Detroit.
Okay. Thought we were gonna have a 13-2-2 record there. All right. Can Tennessee finish on a high note? Can Tennessee finish on a high note versus the city they came from? Houston visiting Tennessee. Scott.
I like Houston. I like Stroud running the show there. Yeah, I like Houston.
Bobby.
Houston.
Brendan.
I think Houston can get it done and finish the year off good.
All right. Carolina at the Falcons. Scott.
Carolina at the Falcons. Carolina's kind of, as I said, they've been playing better over the last since the beginning. Maybe Penix after this is what would be his third week in charge, and at home. Okay, I'm gonna go with the Falcons on this one.
All right, Bobby.
Let's see, Atlanta over Carolina.
Bobby. Brendan.
I think Atlanta is the better team, so I guess I'll say Atlanta. But I almost think that neither team will care because I think at this point, the Buccaneers do have the division wrapped up. So
yeah, and they can't even get in the playoffs with that win. But
right, they need to win the division to get in.
Let's see. Speaking of Tampa Bay, they play the Saints. Scott.
Well, as Brendan was saying, that they need to have that win. And as I was saying also, I think maybe New Orleans is also going for the draft pick. So then that's it. Makes it easy. It's going to be Tampa Bay.
Bobby.
Let's see. Tampa Bay over New Orleans.
Brendan.
I was actually thinking New Orleans because Tampa Bay was going to be resting their starters.
Yeah, I agree there. You know what that means? Another tie. All right. So Seahawks, Rams again. Gino's out. Even with Gino, I think the Rams beat them. Scott,
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, I think the Rams.
Bobby,
Rams.
Brendan.
Yeah, I think the Rams will be able to beat them, especially since Seattle's coming into LA.
All right. How about Buffalo going to New England, Scott?
Buffalo is just too strong. Yeah, definitely going to be the Bills.
Bobby,
Buffalo.
Brendan.
Buffalo.
Oh, did not give them first seed. Miami and the Jets, Scott.
You know what that week 18. And could the Jets be going again, striving for the draft pick, where Miami can kind of is more playing a better game? Actually, I'm okay. I'm gonna go with the Jets on this game. That's going to be my upset of the week, I think.
All right, Bobby.
I'll pick the Jets too. Upset of the week.
Uh-oh. Brendan.
And I can see the Jets winning.
And I think that would eliminate Miami from the playoffs. And Aaron Rodgers' possible last home game in a New York Jets uniform. Baltimore hosting the Browns. Scott.
Yeah, as I've been saying, Baltimore's a runaway freight train. It's going to be Baltimore.
Bobby.
Baltimore.
Brendan.
Baltimore.
Oh, and right now, look at that. They're in third place. But speaking of third place, so you got the Steelers. They got to win this to win the division. But you also got Cincinnati, who's still alive for that 7th seed in the playoffs. Scott, who do you got?
They, Tomlin seems to dig up the best when they really, really need it. So especially as you said, they're going to need to win it to move on. I'm going with Steelers.
Bobby.
Cincinnati.
Brendan.
I think the Steelers will win.
So I was going to go Cincinnati, so give them a tie. Doesn't affect anything. Colts hosting the Jaguars, Scott.
The Colts always seem to just, for whatever reason, they just sink when the Jaguars are on the opposite side of the ball. But I think on this case, I'm going to go with the Colts, especially being at home. We'll see how that goes. Colts.
All right. Bobby.
I'll win Indianapolis.
Brendan.
Indianapolis.
And I think that clinches them the playoff spot there. All right. So Chiefs going to Denver. Chiefs obviously need the win to secure the first round bye. Denver can't move up, can't move down. Do they rest their starters? Scott, what do you think?
Well, that's a good question. That could be a very good question. Well, in that case, everybody's resting starters. I guess I'll go with the home team again. I'll go home team.
All right, Bobby.
Us. We're gonna beat Kansas City because the last time we almost did. If it hadn't been for that blocked field goal, we would have beat them.
Brendan.
I can see Denver winning. I think it will be interesting just because, like you said, Denver can't. Like, this week kind of means nothing, and the Chiefs, it means everything. So we'll see if we get Patrick Mahomes back, what type of condition their team is in general. And
Yeah.
And look, with a Denver win, that knocked him out of the first round bye there. Brings us to the Chargers or the Raiders, Bobby. Who you taking?
God. I got to go with the Raiders this time.
Oh, the Raiders. Okay. Scott.
Yeah. Sorry, Bobby. I can't go with the Raiders really against anybody. Definitely going Chargers.
All right, Brendan.
I agree. I think the Chargers will. Raiders are playing for playoff position or pick position.
So. All right, Brendan. I'll let you kick the next 2 games off. Cowboys hosting the Commanders. I mean, they could play spoiler. I don't know if anyone can sneak in the playoffs.
I don't think so. I think everyone else is.
Atlanta might be able to.
Well,
Atlanta, Arizona. Who you thinking?
I'll choose the rare words of "Go Cowboys" out of my mouth. Probably never hear those words again. But
just to create a little chaos in the playoffs.
Let's see if we can knock out the Commanders and get our division foe out of there.
Bobby.
I got to go with the Commanders because ever since Dak went out for the season, I think it's going to be Commanders.
All right, Scott.
Yeah, I think the Commanders have been really not that bad a team throughout the season. So yeah, I'll definitely go Commanders here.
All right, I'm gonna go Cowboys as well. So that means we tied it. So they're still in it now, but we'll see. We got the game with the Cardinals coming up. Let's see. Eagles, Giants, Brendan.
Eagles and Saquon Barkley breaks the season rushing record against his former team.
Poetry. Scott.
Eagles, easy.
Bobby.
Eagles.
We're back in first. And speaking of back in first, Brendan, Lions hosting the Vikings.
Lions. I need the Vikings to lose so I can get that 1 seed.
Scott.
Wow, now that's going to be a really, really good game. I'm going to really be looking forward to that game. That's going to be a good battle. I'm going to go. I would go with the Lions against that. It's going to be a great game. Now that's going to be the game of the week.
Bobby.
I agree with Scott. Detroit game of the week. That one.
Oh, and look at that. Minnesota falls to the 5th seed with a 14-3 record. It's crazy. You know what? I'm going to pick Chicago over Green Bay. Green Bay might be resting starters right now. They've already clinched it. They can't move up or down. So give me Chicago. Finish off a little strong, Scott.
Well, you're right. I mean, that's definitely a possibility there with Green Bay. Oh boy, I would hate to pick the Bears over Green Bay, especially at Green Bay. Okay, I'll tell you what. You convinced me. I'm going to go Bears. Let's go Bears with the
upset. Bobby.
I'm going Chicago.
All right, look at that, Brendan.
I was going to go Chicago too.
Just for the chaos. And you know what? Speaking of chaos, I'm picking. I do think Arizona's a better team. But
yeah.
What about you, Scott?
Yeah, definitely the Cardinals. Cardinals at home. if McBride hasn't gotten into the end zone before the last week of the season, every single offensive play that the Cardinals run will be Murray to McBride to make sure he gets into the end zone. They'll even do they might even do a tush push with McBride if they're on the 1 yard line. McBride's getting in there somehow. So either way, I would go with the Cardinals over the 49ers at home.
Let's say,
I'd put Atlanta in.
whoa. Yeah, so this would be our playoff matchup. If all this happens, Michael Penix could be the quarterback to lead his team into the playoffs as a rookie. We'd have first seed Buffalo, first seed Philadelphia, 7th seed Indianapolis going to second seed Kansas City, 6th seed Denver going to Baltimore, a team they did not have very good luck on early in the season. And number 5, Pittsburgh, looking to be favored in that matchup versus the Houston Texans. And then in the NFC, we got 7 seed Atlanta going to 2 seed Detroit, 6 seed Green Bay going to another Bay, this time in Tampa, and 5th seed Minnesota going to LA to face off against the Rams. Let's see who we gave the number 1 pick to. I don't know. It's either going to be the Giants or the Raiders. We both gave them 2 and 12. With Carolina, New England, Cleveland, Tennessee, and Jacksonville all at 3 and 11. So, Scott, how do you feel about this playoff picture?
Well, that's a pretty good. It's going to be interesting how that runs out. As I've kind of been saying, Baltimore's a freight train. Even with Kansas City and even with Buffalo, I would probably lean toward Baltimore. Just especially right now, they're peaking at the best time. I really like Ravens just going on to the end.
Brendan, what do you feel with this playoff picture?
I see some good games, and I think there's going to be definitely some lopsided games. The NFC Final Four is going to definitely, I think, be the toughest of them, but so.
Yeah, the NFC just looks very strong with your 5th seed being 14-3. That's pretty insane. So yeah, another week of us here. Let's there we go. Scott, what are your plans this weekend? Obviously, big college football weekend.
Yeah, I'm gonna be. I got my drinks. I got my snacks all set to go for the Hoosiers taking on the Irish. Thankfully for my seat, I don't have to spend $2,000 or $3,000 to be able to watch it. I can sit down nice and warm in Arizona, watching cheering on the Hoosiers. I'll be screaming loud enough that I'm sure every Hoosier will be able to hear me screaming as the game goes along, and going to be really happy to watch Indiana upset Notre Dame. That'll be fun.
Bobby, what are you doing this weekend for the Broncos?
Bronco game Thursday night. And then this weekend, just going to watch Christmas movies and watch college football. That's what I'm doing. I'm not going anywhere near the store. I know that much.
Yeah, don't go near the malls or the store. Brendan, what about you? What about you, Brendan? What's your plans for the weekend?
Nothing. I have no plans.
You need to get a life, Brendan. Get something exciting going on. All right.
Just tell people you're gonna go cryptid hunting. Just every time you go cryptid hunting.
I'm gonna go chase that waterfall that keeps running away from me.
Ah,
But yeah, if you guys want, this week we will be doing some more videos, obviously. One about another best hamburger in New Mexico, and one about Young Guns too. So for anyone interested, stay tuned. More sports chat to your left. More about us here on the right. I believe it's the Christmas movies that will be popping up. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and let us know who you think's making the playoffs and why. Tell us in the comments below.